Good evening and welcome to Being Black and Craft, where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on craft beer. This is Angie, your host, the undeniable Vixen, and we have a great guest per usual. And let's go ahead and get into some beer news. So let's see, what do we have on the docket today? First off, taste of black spirits, and I had to pull this up because I could not get it to work for me. So you are cordially invited to join the Taste of Black Spirits Detroit for Collective Behavior 2025, hosted by Black Spirits Legacy on September 26th through the 27th. This extraordinary event will feature speakers and panelists from all around the world, creating a unique platform for discussion and collaboration. Experience an exceptional grand tasting exhibition showcasing over 100 Black-owned spirit brands. Wow. From various corners of the globe. Our cocktail concierge mixologist presentation promises to excite the palate as your family of brand owners provide edutainment, history, and storytelling. So if you are not aware, Taste of Black Spirits, they kind of go all over the country. But this is their iteration for Detroit. So if you're near Detroit, and you can kind of see some of the sponsors there, you see your friend Charles over there. So he is a big advocate for Black-owned spirit, trying to get them to your door. So check them out if you're in that area. Taste of Black Spirits. Then, friend of the show, Vine Street, they have the newest beer I thought was cute, and it's called Jerry Carroll Dripping. It's a 6.5 ABV. So let your taste buds shine with the bounce and boldness of Jerry Carroll Dripping, a standout in our hair series. This West Coast IPA is all the swagger and no frills. Frizz, packed with a juicy character and crisp, bitter bite that keeps it refreshing. Oh, keeps it fresh to death. It's so small, I can barely see it. So expect lush layers of pine and citrus, thanks to a glorious blend of Simcoe, Mandarin Bavarians, Cascade, and Comet hops. So this sounds really juicy, balmy, just like the Jerry curl that you used to have. So if you're near Kansas City, Missouri, you might want to pick that up. So they have a hair series. I'm wondering what else is coming up. They got to have one for the magnificent fro. So I can't wait to see that. Or maybe braids. Maybe that might be the next one coming up. So this actually happened last Sunday, but I wanted to highlight it. This is from 23rd Brewing. I think they are in, oh my goodness, I can't think of where they're in a state that I didn't know Black people existed. I can't think of what it was, but it's 23rd Avenue Brewing, and they were having an event where they were in connection with Well Constructed, which I believe is actually making drinkable water available in the diaspora. So that's last Sunday from 2 to 6. You went to drink a beer called the Pepper Peach, and that went to those sales went to donations for Well Constructed. So this is our 10th anniversary of having this type of education, and as well as construction for getting clean water to people who need it. So I thought that was really cool that they have initiatives. And I think that's what people don't realize with breweries, that they have some really great initiatives. That's what I was looking for, that can be impactful in their area as well as abroad. Then, friend of the show, tonight at Brockton Beer on this coming Tuesday, tomorrow, July 15th, they have another evening of meaningful connection, good energy, and real conversation. So they're having a after-work networking night tomorrow, and it starts at 6 o'clock. So if you are near Brockton, You might want to go and check it out, and they are going to have complimentary refreshments from 6 to 9. So check them out. Then friend of the show, Apway, and she has this infectious smile, probably being cheeky. And she has this really big article in the New York Times, and I kind of condensed it just to let y'all know. So in Johannesburg, South Africa, brewmaster Appleway is breaking barriers, being the first Black woman believed to own a craft brewery in the country. And at Tolkas, and I'm probably saying it wrong, brewery, she probably will be mad at me, located between the township of Alexandria and the elite district of Sandton, she's training 13 young Black graduates, most of them women, at her brewing academy to master the art and science of beer making. With backgrounds in science, engineering, students are learning the full brewing process while gaining industry-ready skills. Appleway is a microbiologist and an international beer judge, and is on a mission to diversify South Africa's 5.2 billion beer dollar industry and normalizing Black and female representation in craft beer brewing. Of course, she's awesome. She's really awesome. So, just wanted to give her a shout out. If you go to you know what I'll do? I'll actually post this on our feed on Being Black and Craft, because it's a really lengthy article, but it's so rich. But I just wanted to highlight her because she, when she does come to the stage, she's moving, she's making moves, and I want y'all to know who this person is. Remember Appleway, because you will see her again. You definitely will see her again. And that's all I have as far as news. So let me go ahead and bring up my guests. Good evening. Good evening. How are you?
What's up? I love the news, by the way. That Jerry Curl dripping, I was like,
yeah, isn't that awesome? I was just like, that's kind of cool.
So blue.
That's exactly what it looks like, right?
No,
I can just imagine what they come up with. Just and their can art, they're award winners for their can art. So
yeah,
it's
I love
a no-brainer. Yes. Well, let's see. It's been a long time no see. I know. Usually, you're like, "Are you going to Barrel and Flow?" I was like, "No." Are you going to Barrel and Flow this year? No.
I am. It's usually everybody one of us.
Everybody usually asks me, and it's been no. This year, I have a legitimate thing because I'm traveling abroad this year twice.
Nice.
So I don't have that kind of currency.
Yeah. When was the last time I saw you?
Probably about 3 years ago.
Was it CBC like in Nashville?
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I hadn't been that long. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We blacked it up a little bit. Some
little bit. Little bit.
Okay. So let's see. I have some questions for you, but first I want you to tell me a little bit about you. Tell me, because I think I've always screwed up your name. How do you properly say your first name?
Yeah, you pronounce it Eval. So think of the word love backwards, even though it's spelled EVAL, it's pronounced EVOL. So Eval. Yeah, that's just easier.
Did mommy and daddy do that? That's like love. That's cute. That's cute.
I honestly don't know. I don't know. My parents told me it was some rich guy in Jamaica they named me after. So I don't know.
Okay. So where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit of how you grew up in your community and how it kind of evolved today.
Yeah, no. So again, I mentioned both my parents are Jamaican. So I was born and raised in Connecticut. So in just outside the Hartford area, that's pretty much like Jamaican area. I spent most of my childhood there until I came up to Massachusetts to go to college. I never really looked back, but a lot of my influence came from from my family. You know, my mother came up, she saved up some money, got her husband up here, which became my dad, and then they slowly started bringing up, you know, their siblings into the area in Hartford and Windsor and in that area. So
Okay.
big up to Lady Lager. I know she's in Connecticut repping my
Yeah.
home state. But yeah, for the most part, like I grew up, it was kind of like we're close to the city, but in a small town right next to Hartford. So we got like the best of both worlds, a very diverse type of town. Played a lot of basketball, a lot of sports.
Hmm.
And when I came up to the Boston area, it's pretty much the same thing. Went to college, and then when I went to settle down, I came down to Brockton, which is like 20 miles south of Boston. Very similar to the way I grew up when I was in Windsor, but just bigger. A
Hmm.
lot of diversity, a lot of folks from different types of areas. A lot of huge Cape Verdean community, so Western Africa. A lot of Haitians, Jamaicans, you know, everything. So yeah, yeah. So it's pretty dope. I think actually, Brockton might be one of the largest locations of Cape Verdean people outside of Cape Verde, or at least in the area,
Wow.
like some of the surrounding areas as well. So yeah, yeah, that's pretty
So
dope.
that's amazing. So that in the climate that we live in right now, how is the temperature as far as like people how they're moving, just trying to just make it as is.
Cautiously optimistic, I guess, is what you would say. Like
Yeah.
you know how our people are, man. When we struggle, we figure out ways to lift each other up by the
Hmm.
village. So you know, there's a lot more. It feels like there's more. At least maybe it's because it's the summer, but just seems like there's just more gatherings. There's more things that are happening, more celebrations, even though it's celebrations in a time that's very uncertain.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, we kind of holding on to each other, which is good.
Okay. 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 So do you remember your first beer experience? Do you remember what it was? Was it
Wow.
inspirational, or was it like, did you, were you curious, or were you sneaking to get that person?
No, I wasn't sneaking. Nah, I went and got it. I think you know. I know it's between two beers. I believe it was a Dogfish beer
Mm-hmm.
that I had. I think it was called like Midas Touch or something like that. And I think there was like saffron in it or something weird. And I just tried. I was like, man, what is this? It's not no. This ain't no beer. This is weird. It's got different types of flavors. And I think this was around college time, so we were getting these fancy beers and all that stuff, and it was cool. I think Racer Five might have been the other one. I think that's Bear Republic out West Coast.
Mm.
Between the two of those, if I remember correctly, it just kind of got me like, whoa, this is kind of different, you know. And
Okay.
so I got into it that way. Yeah, yeah. And then so getting into sort of the beer side of things, like and my attraction to craft beer, you know, after my second was born, I at that time I was in love with it. Like we had Trillium up here in Treehouse,
Okay.
and so between those two breweries, Hetty Topper is not too far, the Alchemist up north. Like
Okay.
we just had access to some really really good beers,
Yeah.
and by the time my second was born, I was just like, man, I don't know if I can afford all these beers like this because you know these kids be taking
Mm.
money from your wallet all the time. So I started so I started figuring out how to make my own. So I started home brewing a little bit.
Mm.
Obviously the beers weren't as good, but I just really fell in love with the process and just kind of like gave me a little bit of space and time just to kind of hone in and do things that like you know away from the day-to-day work and all that other stuff. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. So that's kind of how I got into at least my interest in craft beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about give me, I guess, the down and dirty of the Brockton story, how it became, and
Mhm.
how did you get involved in it as far as you being a part owner?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was basically five families that we got together, and like I mentioned before, very diverse in the city of Brockton. So of the five of us, we all had kids. We all had daughters about the same age, pretty much going to the same classes, playing soccer and all that stuff. So we used to hang out a lot on the weekends, play board games or whatever, and just kind of hang, drinking, doing our thing. And we really got into this idea of like, you know, the city of Brockton downtown is looking to revitalize. They're looking to sort of like build add, apartment buildings and new places. One of the things that they wanted was a brewery, and I know I had some um, background in home brewing, but my other two partners, they actually had commercial brewing experience, which was cool. So we kind of like put it all together. We are just like, why don't we try to do this as opposed to them trying to get somebody from the outside to come in, and that's kind of how that started. And it's pretty cool. It's like you're talking about Filipino dude, Canadian dude, a Haitian dude, Jamaican kind, like what I mean, like just kind of coming together. Our partners as well helping out and just kind of doing something for the community, because we're so used to what craft beer had brought to us as well. Just sort of like you go to an event or something like that that's in craft beer, and you're just kind of with your peoples. We ain't trying to get crazy. Sometimes we do, but most of the time we just want to chill and just kind of hang out. So we wanted to sort of bring that to our community.
So how are you able to balance, because there's several people that are in that make Brockton, to do the vision, figuring out, okay, what beer we're going to have,
Right.
the business goals, and still maintain a friendship, still being friends when you
Right.
leave the doors. How do you?
Right. Right. And to be truthful, like, at this point, there's only myself and my other partner at this point, but we still talk. They all have different things that they want to go about in different ventures. I think, in terms of when we come up with concepts and ideas, like we've always been really true to like, what is it that's impressive about the community? And so one of the things that we try to do up front, and we sort of continue to do it, whenever we do like a beer that's not packaged for retail or in cans and we just put it on a tap, we try to actually highlight and really draw about like Brockton's history. There's so much history that goes on to the city, whether it's Thomas Edison being here, throwing the first three-wire switch, Frederick Douglass being here, reciting poetry, the Underground Railroad stop that's down here. Obviously, the boxing history with Rocky Marciano and Marvin Hagler both being here. So like, we'll
Yeah.
we'll take those types of things and we'll highlight them in specific ways when we either name a beer or we use specific ingredients for a beer,
Mhm.
because it represents the community. And then anything that we really package, we try to blend it into something that us as a group kind of are like really about, right? Or really excited about, whether it's a regular beer or even a collab. Like, we had Capadonna from Wu Tang came through, um, just a visit for like a party, and he loved it and he wanted to do something, and we're big Wu Tang fans, so like we were
Yeah.
like, we got to do something, right? And so that's where we came up with the cappuccino stout. So like we'll do those types of things where I think we come together and we just say like, all right, well, what's the focus in the community, if we're, especially if we want to highlight something, because with Brockton being Brockton, like a lot of people travel to Boston or Rhode Island, like in Providence, we're like right in the middle. So we get a
Mhm.
lot of people who are coming back and forth or traveling, and they stop through and they don't know really anything about Brockton. So between the space that we have in our brick and mortar and also like the actual beers itself, they're basically going to a museum that just serves delicious beer. That's just being honest.
Okay. Okay. That's really cool. Um, Tell me, because I know that you're drinking some. Tell us what
You
you're
caught that?
having tonight.
So yeah, so I'm drinking actually one of our pilsners. So this
Okay.
is Summer in the City. As you can tell, it's block party basically. It's just
Mhm.
basically what it's like being in the, just being hanging out and being in the city, um, partying and doing whatever. We did this collaboration with Embrace. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Embrace crew, but they were the ones, the brainchild behind the statue with MLK, right in the heart of Boston. That's kind of got a
Okay.
little bit of controversy, but
Yes.
but the stuff that they're doing for equality, for racial equality, stands just above and all beyond that. It's just incredible, and we've always wanted to work with them, just because of what they stand for and what they've been about, and just kind of building equality across the way, especially in a city like Boston. So a lot of people have this stigma about Boston if you're not from here, but there are tons of opportunities, and they're making sure that people are being able to participate in those opportunities. And so we linked up with them, and we talked about like, hey, what can we do with like a really nice like pilsner, just a summer type of beer? I was like, well, let's do it this summer in the city, and the artwork is just incredible. It's
Mhm.
like a lot of the outdoor parties that we do have in the summertime because we only get like 2 months of summer up here. So
Oh wow. See, that's why I haven't been up there. Okay. I'll take my 108 any day.
Mm-mm. That's too much.
110.
That's too much. That's too much.
That's too much. That's too much summer.
That's a little too much summer. No, I mean we get like three maybe, but fall here is beautiful. The
Oh
colors and all
yeah,
that
I'm
stuff is
sure.
really nice. Yeah.
I love watching the change of the leaves and stuff. Um, so let me see. We love how want to talk about how intentional your space is, because when I see it, I always see the big icon with Brockton Beer Company there and stuff. So it's more than about beer; it's about culture.
Mhm.
So what, as far as your events, what inclusive and creative events that you've had?
Yeah, I mean, again, we draw in from our community, right? So we try to work with folks that are, they're very festive. They love to do stuff. We try to work with folks in our community to do things. Our first, I think, our 1 year anniversary was when we sort of kicked off the concept of Culture on Tap, and so that was our 1 year anniversary beer fest, and it was really cool because the way the concept was built was we've worked with so many collaboration partners in whether it was Massachusetts or other places. Um, and Brockton's like a new craft beer location, so we wanted to sort of educate folks. So it was a kind of a twofold festival. Essentially, what you did was we brought in about 15 of our collab partners, breweries, and just kind of lined them on Main Street. We closed down the street, so this would allow folks from Brockton to be like, okay, well, I've had your beer, but I don't really know anything about craft beer, so like we bring that to you. But one of the really cool things about Brockton is the fact that like it's multicultural. So we brought in about 8 to 10 food vendors that were Brockton based. So if you're a craft beer fan coming to Brockton and you haven't really had the food down here, it's like now you're able to taste the food. So we kind of bridged that gap, and people were able to sample food, Vietnamese food,
Mm.
Haitian, Peruvian, like all of it. It was pretty cool. The sad part about it, obviously, the weather. We got a little bit of rain, but like those are the types of events that we try to curate. And then we
Mhm.
work with a lot of people. We work with a lot of partners that are just doing a lot of things, like in the city, that are just really exciting and just really bringing people together. And I think, especially for people like us, when it comes to craft beer, like I know when I first started, even with the Dogfish Head and all that stuff, going into like breweries and being the only person, it's changed a little bit. It's nowhere near where it needs to be. So I think when we curate a lot of our events, we really try to be Black forward, but open to all. So like
Mhm.
hear our music, you come if you want. It's for us, but you can come if you want. You're gonna learn a little bit about something. You know what I mean? Both about our beers and about who we are. So like we really, really try to curate that. Really get excited about doing those types of things. And then when you see just people dancing, whatever we're doing, Afro beats, we're doing boots on the ground, whatever we're doing,
Mhm.
it's like you look around and you be like, man, this is all surrounded by craft beer. Like I would have never thought that would have happened. You know what I mean? And now that's what's happening right now. So, you know,
That's good. So the fans are not banned at Brockton just yet.
what's that?
The fans aren't banned like on Carnival. They've banned
Oh,
the
they
fans.
banned them? No, they
Yeah.
we ain't banned them. No, we just
Okay.
had we just had one event. We just had our boots on the ground like a month and a half ago. No, we ain't banned them. Like bring them.
Okay.
We was trying to get the ones. We was trying to get some custom made ones with the double B's on
Ah.
them, black and yellow. But they just ain't come in on time, man. But
Okay. Okay. So
you knew
so
about it.
tell me. So you mentioned that you have your beers. You have your tap and you have your beers that you can. You said, I'm thinking you said something about distribution. Do you have some distribution?
We
Okay.
do. We
So
do.
how is that going as far as distribution? What made y'all decide to do that? Because that's a daunting task.
Tell me about it. So we try to we do temporary agreements when it comes to out of state, usually around festivals.
Hmm.
Um, but we've partnered we've partnered with Niche in New York, so we've got our beers in New
Okay.
York. One of our more popular beers is Yasuke, the Black Kolsch,
Yes.
and so that's
Delicious. I remember having that.
Yeah, thank you. That's been a big hit, like in the city in New York. So we continue to work with that. In Massachusetts, a little different. So we self
Mhm.
distribute. So we basically, yeah, I'm the salesperson. I'm calling up trying to get people to take our beers in different, either beer bars, lounges, restaurants, and stuff like that, and just kind of working with those accounts and then working with drivers to get those deliveries out. It is
Mhm.
a bit of a logistical. It's different. It's different.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I think it's important for people to, understand like the quality that we put into our beers, especially for minority owned and black owned brewery. It's kind of like, we want to make sure you understand that we're putting in some real quality behind the work that we do. Our
Mhm.
head brewer Julian is incredible with his craft, and he spends a lot of time in the work that he does, and we want to make sure that like many people can get to it as possible because we know that like Brockton isn't a place that people come for craft beer, so we sort of have to bring it out there to the people. So that's kind of one of the reasons we decided to move with self distribution, and then again, like we choose pockets of whether it's a temporary agreement through a festival. Or we pick a state like we work with like somewhere in New York where we know things are going really well for a particular brand.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. That's cool.
yeah,
So you're in the brewery, you've been in the brewery for a while, and you're looking around, you're drinking a beer, you're seeing all the sights and sounds of people are having a good time, they're dancing, they're drinking, and you're thinking, wow, this is, I'm looking at this is the reason why I did this. Do you remember a time when you had that epiphany?
yes. Yeah, I think it was before our 1 year.
Hmm.
I think we had just when was this? This was the fall. We had just sort of started this like little Oktoberfest thing, and we just opened up the kitchen. And our kitchen was like, we had some talented chefs that were just doing some really cool things, and we were trying to
Hmm.
blend in our backgrounds into regular sort of American foods. And so we kicked it off with like a Oktoberfest kind of event with our Brocktober beer,
Hmm.
and um, and I just remember seeing so many people just coming in on the inside. Outside wasn't really great weather, but people coming in on the inside, live music and all this other stuff, and people excited. And the fact that it's like I think diversity of culture was really dope. It's really cool to see people coming from different backgrounds there, but it was also pretty cool to see like diversity of profession, which was just different. Like
Hmm.
you just see, like we got a courthouse down the street. We saw some lawyers coming in. We had nurses that were in their scrubs. Like we just had teachers that were there. Like it was just kind of cool to see, like no matter what your profession or where you are in life in terms of that side of things or what you look like, you're all sharing the space together through the stuff that we're building for like for the craft and the beers that we're building for y'all. So it was just kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a good epiphany. Yeah, I like that. I like.
Woof. Yeah, that was cool.
So tell me about one of the times, maybe tell me about one of the times where you had a challenging moment or something that you could tell somebody that's getting into this business. I wish I would have known.
Oh, that's hard. That's so hard. I mean, um, honestly, it's like every day. The climate has been very tough. I would say
Mhm.
this. We before we opened up the brick and mortar, which was June of 22, we started this journey in like 2019.
Mhm.
Went right into the pandemic, and it was like
Mhm.
we might not be doing this. And then
Right.
we decided to do this, and then we just went through so many iterations and stuff. And as you go through it, at the moment you take a step forward, two things knock you back, like, and it's like, oh my gosh. And then you get those moments like you just mentioned before, like you see all these people in the space and you're just like, well, I think we're doing the right thing because all these people are here and they're supporting us and they're having a good time. This is what we're doing it for.
Mhm.
And then that puts you back into it again, and that gives you a little bit of charge of battery or whatever.
Yeah.
um, and it's just it becomes really really difficult to navigate that, and it's not completely sustainable to just take these power pellets of people in your space and getting you all excited. But then on the other side, there's all these really difficult, challenging things. Like you
Mhm.
can't do that sustain. You have to look at it from a practical standpoint and take a step back every once in a while. Um, it helps. It keeps you going, but at some point, it's not sustainable. So, my only advice is just take a step back every once in a while and look at kind of what you're doing, and as much as at the moment you start doing the types of things in terms of running a business, in terms of like in the craft beer space where it is today, you have to understand that like things are changing rapidly, and so you have to make decisions objectively as best as possible, because right now it's just a fight right now, like just to kind of survive, especially
Yeah.
where we are. You know what I mean? So my only advice is just to kind of just, if you get a chance to kind of take a step back, look at things objectively, and ask like really powerful questions for yourself, like what do we need to change, what do we need to pivot, because this is a this is this is a science meets art kind of industry, right? Like there's science on how to make the beer, but there's art in the creativity. Like we talked about can art and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And with that, you can fall in love with your product. You can fall in love with what that product does for other people or the reactions. Like you can fall in love with all that stuff. And when you start thinking about that emotionally, you may not know how to pull the plug when you might need to, or pivot when,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, in terms of that product or in terms of how you're marketing or whatever. So take the time to take a step back is the one thing I could probably say. There's a whole bunch of things I could say, but I'm just gonna leave it to that.
I know it's just like, ooh, I've had answers that are like, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to do that. I don't want to discourage people, but
I think it's always tongue in cheek, but it's just like you really truly have to be sober minded uh, to do it because we are less than 1% in the industry, and then we have the other hurdles as far as like getting capital.
yeah,
Um, and it's not getting any better to get the capital. It's probably getting worse.
yeah, and
Um,
and I don't mean to cut you off, but like
no.
we crowdsource some of our funding, and I think it's a little different for other breweries, but for breweries of color, like when you start looking out and asking for people to help, you're asking your village where, $100 is a big deal for some people. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Um, and it's it's something that weighs on you when you take that money and you got to make it succeed, because for some people, like this might have been like something big for them to invest in,
That's a
and
bill.
you just, yeah, the weight on the shoulders is real. You know what I mean? And so we continue to fight, in terms of what we're doing to try and make sure that we take care of that. But like it is something that weighs on me all the time, you know.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that's just definitely something that I've thought about a lot.
I really wish that other people would really think about that, especially when they're asking, because we've had others that have asked and nothing has come about. And so it makes it harder for people who are really truly trying to get something off the ground. Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I've gotten burned too many times. I'm like, I hope you succeed, but I can't afford to do it anymore. I have to
Right.
just like um, per your strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, yeah, and you can be real with it. Be like, look, I mean, I can share your post.
right.
I can do what I can on the sidelines, but I'm gonna have to sit this one out, and that's
Yeah.
okay too.
Yeah.
You have to kind of look at it as like, look, I mean, I understand. Like, I was in that position before, so it's not like, it ain't hurt my feelings. It's just like, help me wherever you can, and that's all that matters. So
Hmm. Hmm. So tell me about Barrel and Flow. This will be your third, fourth
I
time,
think this is our fourth.
fourth time.
This is our
Okay.
fourth time. Yeah. Is what this one? This is five. I think this is
Yeah,
our fourth time. Yeah, this is. I think this is our
that's
fourth time.
fine. So can you talk about the beer? Because I know sometimes it's y'all a little secretive, so I don't know.
Yeah, we can't talk about that one.
Okay,
I
okay.
will
So
say,
tell me about. Well, tell me about so far. What has been your favorite one, if you remember?
oh, don't do that.
Okay, don't do that.
Don't do
How
that.
about the sights and sounds of Barrel and Flow? Tell us about how
Yeah,
that
no,
is.
we had it's everyone is this is like asking your favorite child kind of question. Everyone was different and everyone had a different man, everyone had just a different vibe. Like I remember the first one we did with Trillium and JC came out and his experience and him being very open about going to the bottle share and being like the only white dude up in
Mhm.
there. It was just like now I know how it feels. Like when y'all talk about being up at our place, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm the only one up in your spot for like 10 years. But it was cool to go there and be I wouldn't say unprepared. We didn't even have like we didn't have our marketing stuff with us, so we just kind of wrote
Mm.
on a sign and we were holding up like Brockton Beer and Trillium, like this is the beer right here, and um, and I love Lady Lager, but she was like right across from us, and
Uh-huh.
she got her whole thing set up, and I was just
Yeah,
like, oh
she comes
man,
in hitting hard.
I was like, man. So we went from that to I think um, I think the one we did with Allagash last year was really cool
Okay.
because they were closer than this was their first one doing it with someone that was like as close as like within an hour and a half away, and so
Hmm.
they were excited just kind of we could go back and forth and we can talk about it. This is actually interesting. This is one thing I think, and I might try to submit a conversation or a topic for next year for the conference, but when we talk about being intentional in our beers and what we make, we're very intentional in the way we collaborate our beers. So we don't like we get a lot of people asking like, can we collaborate? But we don't really always say yes unless we've had a conversation. We talk about what our likes, what things that we like and dislike, and we just kick it and we just try like, does this feel right or not?
Hmm.
And the Allagash one came about because we was sipping at the bottle share the year before, and we were like trying some beers with some of the members on their team, and we just hit it off. And we were like, what, we should do this next year. Um, but we've done a couple other ones. One that um, we included Roland's Raw Grains from South Carolina. We wanted to do something with Carolina Gold Rice,
Okay.
and so there was some serious intention about we call that grains of change, and to hear his story, to go down there and meet his family, to hear his story about
Mhm.
harvesting the same rice that his ancestors harvested when they were
Wow.
enslaved. Like we were just sitting there like goosebumps and our eyes watering up
Hmm.
and everything. um, and it was just a beautiful thing to do that, but also to do that with a collab partner and have them see kind of the things that we see and how we look at and approach things. And Human Robot this year has been very similar, and the fact that we went to log jamming, we kicked it with them, and we just talked about things. This one's more on Julian's side because he's our head brewer, but him
Hmm.
and Andrew from Human Robot, the way that they approach brewing beers, there's just a love there that just you don't always see with all of our partners that we collab with. And so like they hit it off and they're talking the geek talk and all this other stuff, and they're just
Hmm.
but there's just a way with that whole team with Ken, and those guys are just genuinely good people and trying to do some really great things in the industry for everybody, and being a part of that is just really special. So we're excited to bring what we're going to bring in August. uh,
Okay.
yeah, we'll keep it at that. But yeah, I can't say anything. I can't say one has been the best. They just all have been different.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, not the best. Just the most memorable. The just a
Well, I tell
story.
you one more.
Okay.
The one we did with Remnants out of Somerville in Massachusetts, but they're also a sister brewery to Trace. Out
Okay.
in
Yes.
Yeah, so the it's memorable because we was out there scooting. I think Pittsburgh at the time had like the scooters. They do
Yeah.
whatever. So we was out there scooting. We left Trace. We went to go to I think it was Mike's Beer Bar or something like that.
Uh huh.
And I didn't know Julian was like really good at like the whole BMX and whatever. So he's doing tricks
Oh,
on the thing.
oh
And this is
Lord.
one of my first times on the thing. And I'm like, oh, is that what we doing? So I'm doing the thing.
Mm-mm.
Next thing you know, I'm in the middle of an intersection, brought out, scraped knees and everything like that. And I'm just like, man. And they left me. No, they came back. They came back after a little bit, but I
Oh
was
my
like, man,
God.
this is something. I could have been a lot worse,
Mm-mm.
but we had a good time and it was memorable.
Oh my goodness. Well, just wanted to mention that you do have a fan in the chat on YouTube, Daniel. He said, I visited there in early April and had a blast and wish I had more time to hang out and enjoy the space. So said he finished his last
Yasuke.
Yasuke
Hmm.
the other week. So
Nice. Got to come back
yeah,
and get some more.
yeah. Shout out to Daniel.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, Daniel. That's
Yeah.
what's
So
up.
okay. So looking forward to Barrel and Flow. Anything else as far as the the start of the show is Saturday, and then the bottle share is of course very interesting.
Yeah.
Always, make sure that you eat and eat something and hydrate because Sam is going to be going around with his beers.
Hmm.
And then we have the high ABV.
Yep.
Uh, what is it? Is it ciders? No, no, it's
Oh, the mead.
the mead.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
what's that brother's name? Oh man, he's on the
I,
thing now.
I can see his face, and
Oh
he'll
my
be like,
god.
"You don't know who I am," but I know.
He gonna kill me now, man. He gonna kill me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that mead. My
Yeah.
goodness, it is special. Um,
No, not Ren Daniel. It's but she also is a mead maker, but it's someone else that we're both thinking of. He has high ABV, like he's
hmm.
holding it and like, you want some? Are you sure? He's like
Yeah,
he's daring you to drink
yeah.
some.
No,
Like,
some of them folks over there, man, you got to be careful, especially when you get Swizzle around there too. Like some of them,
yep,
they gotta be like, "I'll see y'all tomorrow."
right.
That's gonna make me
You gotta
messy.
know. You have to know when to tap out. Definitely.
No, but no,
So,
I tell you this, it's beautiful when we get there. I usually try to get there, if not Thursday night, but Friday as well. And it's just it's like Christmas. Um, you know, it's very similar in the same way in Massachusetts when like we're doing all the brew stuff. We got friends in the industry, and we never see them unless it's a festival,
mm-hmm,
let alone see anybody that look like each other. Like, and then when we get to like Barrel and Flow or any other festivals that's very similar, it's just basically like, wow, like we catch up. It is just, we're just so excited to see each other and share stories. There's a lot of stories being shared and just kind of help lift each other up the way that we can, or the best way that we can. So it's very near and dear to my heart. It's very special. I always try to make the trip. I get a lot of people ask me like, "Why don't you just send some people from your team?" Like, I gotta be there, man. That's oof. Talk about recharging batteries. I gotta be there, so it's
mm-hmm.
always important to me.
So outside of Barrel and Flow, what's next for Brockton? Anything?
Ooh.
Any new news? Any upcoming collabs?
Besides, yeah, we got a couple in the tank I won't talk about yet because we're not
Okay.
sure. We haven't
So I
haven't
need to stay tuned.
Stay
Okay.
tuned. I will say, we're trying to figure out how we can maintain our space in that location. So we're having conversations, trying to figure that stuff out. So there may be some news probably by the end of the year, what we decide to do. But we're feeling fairly optimistic in the direction that we're taking, and excited about it. So, as tough as things are right now, I think there's still opportunities there in the space. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Well, those are all the questions that I have for you. The last thing I want to ask you is, see if you can finish this statement.
Oh no.
Being being black and craft means
um Everything, is that cheesy? I think
it's
that's cheesy. I mean, it means everything. I mean, it means everything because I talked a little bit about it, and I know this is more than just one word, but I say the one word is everything. But in reality, what that really means is, you're putting your heart into a craft, and there aren't too many industries where a lot of people are trying to help lift you up. At least my experience. This industry is very much, I mean, you see it with collaborations. You don't need to be collabing with people if it wasn't an industry like that. And so I think just the fact that's there and you can make a profession out of that, it means everything.
Hmm.
That feels cheesy though. I feel like I cheated.
Well, it's,
I would say it is. Maybe I'll change the word to better because it wasn't all that great before, and it could be
mhm.
better even more. But it's better than it was, and hopefully it gets better. We move beyond 1% because that's ridiculous.
We're seeing, I mean, we're definitely seeing us in more spaces, um, and getting out there. So it's just the longevity, trying to maintain the longevity is
Yeah,
what we're trying to do now.
yeah,
So I think that's really essential. So it's kudos to you and your team, everyone that's at Brockton that makes things go every day. So I'm sure that you are a proud papa of that.
yeah.
So yeah.
And we're not where we want to be right now, but we've been doing this for a while. So like, for anyone who's listening and anything like that, like if there's anything I can do to help in terms of just if someone you want to talk to or just whatever, like I'm always available, like whether it's through, text or shoot me a note or whatever. Like that's how it's helped me, to get to where we are today. Is people have made themselves available, people who've had experience, and even if they weren't completely what people would call successful, but they're still doing it. It would only be right for me to say the same thing. Like whatever I can do to help, I hope people reach out.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate talking to you. It's been
Yeah.
fun.
It was great because I haven't. I know you've asked, and I've been wanting to come on the show, and every single time it just feels like there's a crisis going on, and I'm like, I can't. So, and it feels like it's been like almost 2 years. So I'm so happy I'm here.
I mean, I thought it was longer.
It
So
was. I didn't want to say more than that. It was probably 3.
yeah, because it's like, but hey, you there's other folks that I can really like be like, we've been trying this for so long, but everybody is busy, and I
Yeah.
understand it because I mean, you have lives, you have everything that's going on. So I appreciate you dedicating just 1 hour of your day for me and everyone else out there that's wanting to hear from you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here, and I appreciate you, Angie.
Sure, thank you. So everyone, again, thank you for joining us for being Black and Craft. But we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on craft beer, and we bid you a good night.